A superhero walking around with a frying pan, a grandfather taking on a gang of thugs, or a volunteer saving a lady from drowning. Get comfortable. Here are 10 real superheroes filmed by the cameras. On TV, superheroes wear capes, costumes, and carry weapons. But in real life, it's another story. One Halloween night in Florida, a 31-year-old fan of the famous game PUBG Mobile went to a party with friends, dressed in a costume in homage to the game's hero. Determined to have a great time with his friends, Jeffrey Dweller walked towards the house of one of his friends, holding a frying pan in one of his hands. Yes, a real one. There's no shortage of imagination. Suddenly, Jeffrey Dweller heard screams coming from the street perpendicular to the one he was on. Those of Eric Holland, a man who was being attacked by a thief. The thief had prepared his attack in advance, detached the victim's bicycle with a bolt cutter, and fled with the stolen goods. When Jeffrey realized that the thief was coming in his direction, he didn't think long before intercepting him and hitting him on the head with a skillet. The thief, dazed, immediately fall to the ground because of the shock. And yes, a blow from a frying pan must hurt a lot. Well, it seems that the frying pan is not in a very good condition anymore, but the main thing is that Jeffrey was able to recover the victim's bike and put the thief down. Jeffrey was able to rejoin his friends and enjoy the rest of an incredible evening with a juicy story to tell them. The 31-year-old man, who has become a big hero in his city, was able to put his skills as a great PUBG player to good use, even if only once. Like what? You should go out more often with a frying pan in your hands. You never know who you might run into. On April 3, 2018, an American man answering to the name of Bill was standing outside the door of a library in West Columbus. In the footage, the man was quietly waiting for his daughter to leave the facility. When all of a sudden, Bill heard police sirens blaring and closing in on him. He looked around and saw that a man was running towards him, followed by a horde of armed police trying to stop him. Bill knew right away that the man was trying to get away and that he was already one step ahead of the police. Seeing that the offender was getting closer and closer, Bill tried a masterstroke. He stretched a leg backward just as the thug passed behind him. The criminal stumbled and immediately fell to the ground, giving the police ample time to make an arrest. Bill became a real superhero in a matter of seconds, even though he could have been shot in the altercation. The 18-year-old criminal was carrying a Glock 9mm pistol with an extended high-capacity magazine containing 29 rounds. Bill was highly commended for his brave act, which certainly saved the lives of several other people. In the town of Caterham, England, James Rowley, a 35-year-old man working as a window cleaner, realized one day that the floor of his van had become dilapidated and that without a financial loan to repair it, his business would fail. So he decided to go to the bank and ask for a loan. In the video, James Rowley was standing by the counter talking to the banker, negotiating the possibility of a loan, when suddenly he was interrupted by a person, dressed entirely in black and wearing a motorcycle helmet on his head so that he would not be recognized. His name was Andrew Fernandez and he burst in brandishing a firearm at Rowley and the banker. Rowley, realizing that the gun was a fake, did not flinch and asked the robber to leave. At these words, the robber turned back and tried to escape on James's bike. The latter decided to go after the thief. After a long chase, James finally caught the robber and held him until the police arrived. The robber was booked into the Kingston jail. He was very close to escaping. James Rowley was applauded for his courage and was even congratulated by the chief of police himself. Better than that, Rowley was able to get a loan of €2,500 from the loan company Amigo Loans, because the bank had, despite his heroic gesture, refuted his request. Today, this businessman has not only renovated his van, but he also has official recognition for his bravery. 2 for the price of 1. Dennis O'Connor is a grandfather like any other, caring and passionate. But this 86-year-old grandpa has something extra. He's a real superhero. One evening, Dennis was sitting at the counter of the One Racing Bar in Glanmire, Cork, Ireland, with his friend Tim Murphy, the owner. The two men were chatting over a drink, totally forgetting that the night was favorable for crime and that criminals usually take advantage of it to attack people who are more fragile than them, especially when they are slightly tipsy. But this evening the delinquents were in the wrong place. While they were chatting at the bar counter, a group of young thugs armed with guns and hammers burst through the front door and started to attack them. Without thinking, Dennis, a retired millwright, went after one thug while Tim Murphy went after the other. He didn't run, he didn't hide. The only reflex he had when he saw the gun pointed at him was to grab a chair and try to knock out one of the thugs. The super fit grandpa was not afraid of the situation. On the contrary, he decided to fight to the end. The thieves, who were planning to take the loot from the cash register, immediately backed down at the sight of this super-powered grandpa. Despite his age, Dennis was able to defeat the thieves who quickly left the scene. And if he was indeed able to confront them, it's because Dennis, at the age of 86, trains in a gym, swims 4 times a week, and walks several kilometers a day. Even if it was obvious to him to help his friend, Dennis risked his life. A fight like this usually ends badly. Today, Dennis is recognized as a true hero. Everyone is proud of what he did, especially since it's not every day that a man of his age gets the better of 20-year-olds. Haley Brulette is an ordinary old woman who lives in Denham Springs, Louisiana, USA. Every day, accompanied by her dog Sassy, Haley goes out shopping. But in August 2016, the old woman had a bad idea to put her nose outside while the whole area was hit by very heavy floods. Mrs. Brulette had been released from the hospital that morning after being treated for kidney disease. The elderly woman had borrowed a friend's van to go to a pharmacy that day when she was trapped by the floodwaters. As time went on, the van was swallowed up until it sank completely under the murky waters. David Fung, a Red Cross volunteer, saw the van from a distance and decided to defy the danger and go to its rescue in his lifeboat. When he arrived at the place where the van had disappeared, David and his team started to look for it. After a few seconds, he managed to break the window of the vehicle, dive into the water and pull out the 53-year-old victim and her dog. Mrs. Brulette was semi-conscious at the time as she had been underwater for more than 20 seconds without being able to breathe. After that, David placed the victim on the lifebelt so that his team could bring her to safety. A few days later, the elderly woman made contact with her rescuer, whom she thanked warmly and called her angel. That'll teach Haley not to venture out when it's flooding. The man you see here is a professional acrobat. He knows all about flips and somersaults. In these images, the acrobat was trying to impress the crowd watching with admiration by performing a series of backflips, jumps that require dexterity, agility, and a sharp eye. But sometimes, even experts can make missteps in their discipline, and it can be very serious. While in the middle of his performance under the astonished eyes of the spectators, the acrobat performing blind spins performed his last jump, without paying attention to a huge pointed rock on which he was inevitably going to land. But this was without counting on the commendable gesture of a young person who was attending the show at the time and who had the incredible reflex to push the acrobat at the last moment so that he would land elsewhere than on the rock. Shocked by what could have happened to him, the acrobat could not believe it. He had just passed very close to a hemiplegia since he would have received the blow directly on the skull. Relieved, the acrobat recovered and warmly thanked his savior. From now on, he will calculate his routes better and be more careful where he puts his feet and even his head. Mamadou Gassama is a young African of Malian origin, in an irregular situation, who used to walk around the streets all day, looking for work opportunities. One day, as he was passing by a building, Mamadou saw a 4-year-old child clinging to a balcony railing, suspended in the air more than 15 meters above the ground. The 22-year-old undocumented immigrant then launched himself without thinking to the assault of the facade of the building, with his bare hands, under the acclamations and the encouragements of the pedestrians. Defying the void and the height that separated each floor, Mamadou succeeded after a few seconds to reach the floor where the child was suspended and saving him in extremis. Nicknamed Spider-Man by the French, the young Malian whose heroic action received several congratulations and recognition, including an invitation to the Élysée Palace by the President of the French Republic in person and a Grand Vermeil medal from the city of Paris. He was also regularized and naturalized French as a reward. And finally, Mamadou was able to benefit from integration in the civic service of the firemen in order to use his incredible agility for the good of the citizens. One thing is sure, he was right to do a little weight training in his spare time. Thoughtful Mamadou. Maybe law enforcement should be taught that kidnapping can happen in real life as well as in fiction. This Russian soldier was, as usual, faithful to his post. While patrolling the street, the man came face to face with an incredible scene. He saw a man dressed as a soldier, taking a woman hostage. The man had grabbed her from behind and threatened her with a gun. Because of a misjudgment, the Russian soldier immediately threw himself on the alleged aggressor to violently tackle him to the ground. Upon seeing the scene, a whole film crew burst in to tell the soldier that it was only a staged scene and not a real kidnapping. Fortunately, the camera crew reacted quickly, otherwise, the soldier would probably have injured the poor actor. The soldier, who finally realized that he had just made a huge mistake, let go of the actor before returning to his post. Of course, if the scene had been true, the soldier would have certainly been congratulated for the act of bravery he had shown. So, what do you think of these real-life superheroes? Which one impressed you the most? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to get all the notifications and not miss anything from our upcoming content.